the independent New York Post. It's all over. CIA director suggests Hillary Clinton could face criminal prosecution. Intel chief releases. Okay, so there's going to be a lot more indictments. The Hill, Brendan Comey, and Hillary Clinton could face indictment. They will all face indictment before the 2026 congressional, before midterms. Hit subscribe to this channel right now, to my super chat. Thank you. Let's get started. We'll get started with Senator Kennedy questioning James Comey. It's a really interesting, it's really interesting testimony, and it serves as the basis for upcoming indictments. Check this out.
Mr. Comey, have you ever heard
I don't know, a lot.
Have you ever heard the expression, power doesn't change people, it just unmasks them?
No, I don't think so.
How's your book coming? How many copies have you sold?
I don't know, a lot. I have a new one coming out in January about the Justice Department. I hope that'll sell a lot too, but I don't know the numbers.
You enjoy attention, don't you, Mr. Comey?
I do not. I enjoy attention from my family. I do not enjoy being recognized in public and my B-list celebrity fame, which I hope will go away very soon.
Well, I'll give you this. You have been an equal opportunity egotist. You have tried to screw both Trump and Clinton. Let's talk about Clinton first. When you were head of the FBI, you investigated Secretary Clinton and her emails and her server, did you not?
The FBI team did while I was director, yes.
And you concluded that there were no criminal violations, did you not?
There were no violations that a reasonable prosecutor would pursue.
Reasonable meaning a liberal or Democratic Party loyal or aligned prosecutor. Notice how they parse every word. A reasonable prosecutor. Well, a prosecutor would, according to Comey, a prosecutor would if that person was not reasonable. But a reasonable one wouldn't. These are such easy lies to decipher, okay? Clinton illegally transferred classified data onto servers. Trump was a president with the power to declassify. He could do so verbally, according to Politico as well. Let's continue.
But you didn't just issue a statement. You called a press conference. And you commented on her behavior. You said she was extremely careless, but in your opinion, there was no criminal intent. What were you thinking of? I mean, this is the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. Didn't you realize that could have an impact on the investigation?
The investigation was ending at that point when I issued the summary of what we had concluded.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Didn't you realize that could have an impact on the election?
Oh, potentially, sure. And I was trying to offer...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was trying to offer transparency about the justification for ending an investigation.
So the arrogance is just unbelievable. Let's continue.
Investigation of intense interest to the American people in July 5th of 2016.
Well, you gave us a full dose of transparency. 11 days before the election, you sent a letter to Congress saying, never mind what I said in my press conference, my unprecedented press conference, I'm going to reopen the investigation, didn't you?
Correct. I didn't say what you just said in the letter, but I told the chairs of the committees we were reopening the investigation to examine some additional material.
And what he testified about was Uma Abedin forwarding classified data to Anthony Weiner. And they get after Trump for classified data at Mar-a-Lago. He was the president with the power to declassify. And he could have done so verbally, without anyone really knowing, or anyone in Congress, or he could have done so verbally. There's no way to accuse a president of mishandling classified data when he has the power to declassify data. But let's continue.
And then a few days later, right before the election, you said, never mind. She didn't do anything.
No, I said the examination was completed and it doesn't change our view.
And we're not talking about a parking ticket here. We're talking about the Democratic nominee for president of the United States, the most powerful person in the free world. And you didn't think that would have an impact on the election?
Oh, I knew it could potentially have an impact no matter what we did.
And you don't like attention?
Yes, both of those things are true at the same time. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions and you don't like attention.
Look, the unmitigated narcissism it's amusing, and it's so obvious that Comey covered up Clinton's top secret. Comey knows almost certainly how top secret intelligence was transferred onto private servers. He's never told the United States, nobody at the FBI ever told the United States of America or the world how Clinton was able to obtain classified and top secret intelligence onto servers outside of the United States government. It's impossible to do from a cybersecurity perspective. It's highly illegal, beyond illegal. It's literally how any country could obtain any secret from the U.S. If Clinton if Clinton had servers connected to U.S. servers, U.S. government servers, and nobody knows how they were connected, or nobody knows how classified data was transferred onto Clinton's servers, and nobody knows why Uma Abedin was forwarding classified data to Anthony Weiner, according to James Comey. That's why he wrote the Comey letter, according to a testimony to Dianne Feinstein. You have so much corruption and so many examples of illegal behavior that Comey covered up, only to write the letter tanking Clinton's campaign. He completely destroyed Clinton's campaign with that letter. Then they blamed Russia. And he lied under oath numerous times. Let's continue.
Let's talk about Trump. You didn't really care about Dr. Page, did you? You wanted Trump, didn't you?
That is not accurate.
Yeah. When you went and got these warrants to investigate Dr. Page, that you don't remember much about, what did that allow you to do? Could you follow him around?
First, I didn't, Senator, go get any warrants. The investigative team and the lawyers from DOJ got offers.
Right. Could you follow him around with the authority from FISA?
No, you didn't need authority from FISA to follow someone around. This was about electronic surveillance.
Oh, so you could wiretap him?
It allowed you to collect electronic communications that he was engaged in.
You can wiretap him?
Yeah, that's the old-fashioned term, but yes, it gave you authority to collect electronic communications. Almost no one uses.
Could you bug him?
I don't think there was authority in the FISA application for a remote listening device.
Could you open his mail?
So they set up and framed Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, other people to just try to find any criminal behavior they could. See, if you did exactly what Comey and all of them did to Trump, if you did exactly what they did to Trump to Democrats, you'd likely find endless criminal behavior. Hunter's laptop, the Clinton Foundation scandals, all of that. The actual emails, once they were read by the entire world, was like a fiasco beyond belief, because they cheated Bernie Sanders. They talked about Clinton's servers, all of these things. So And that wasn't even setting up and framing people and spying on them and all of that.
I don't think that was included either.
But you don't remember?
I don't. It's easy to figure out, but I don't. Sitting here, I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. And you're saying today that that if you knew now what you didn't know then, that you wouldn't have signed the application?
I would not have signed the narrow certification that the FBI director has to give, but more importantly, I'd want to know from the team, how are you thinking about this? Why are these things not being included?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're a smart guy. You're honors graduate, William and Mary, Chicago Law School. And you don't like attention. And I'm trying to understand that you're investigating the Republican nominee for President of the United States. Okay,
No.
You've already finished with the Democratic nominee.
Yeah, we were
That's
not
the Republican nominee, and you got a FISA warrant that was a lie, and you say, well, it wasn't. You're head of the FBI. Didn't you check? Didn't you go, hey guys, this is this is a nominee for President of the United States. Let's sit down and talk about what's your evidence. You never did that?
Senator, we were never investigating the candidate, the Republican candidate, Mr. Trump.
So that's a lie under oath right there. That they should have got him for perjury right there.
This was about a surveillance warrant on someone who was no longer associated with the campaign.
Oh, you just got his name out of the white pages.
Whose name?
And then with General Flynn, you've wrapped up your investigation, but you decide to take one more shot. Sally Yates says you went rogue. Isn't that accurate?
It is not accurate.
Well, why would she say that? She sure didn't compliment you. I was sitting right here, bigger than Dallas. Listen to her. She said you went rogue.
So you're asking me what she meant by that?
Yeah, what do you think about that?
No, I think she was disappointed that I didn't coordinate the Flynn interview with her in advance, and I understood her concern about that. I think she understood my explanation afterwards as to why I used my authority, which I had, to do it without coordinating.
So the entire planet knows that Comey knew who purchased the Steele dossier, John Brennan, Comey. They all knew it was Hillary Clinton. They had to know. You cannot be. It is impossible to be the FBI director or the CIA director and not know something so simple as a dossier given to you to then filter through the United States government to set up and frame the incoming president. They're both under oath as saying they did not know. This is completely absurd. So almost certainly they knew. Almost certainly. And Kash Patel, John Ratcliffe at the CIA alluded to conspiracy statute indictments for Comey, Brennan, and others. But one of the perjury, see, this was during this testimony ties into the Durham probe testimony that Brennan and Clinton testified. I think Comey also. So the statute of limitations doesn't apply, but also the statute of limitations, well, they got him for the indictment. They got him before the statute of limitations ended for the McCabe perjury. But let's continue.
But you don't like attention.
I stand by my earlier answer. I love attention from my grandchildren and my children and my wife. The rest of it, I could let politicians have it.
Can we agree that the FBI is the premier law enforcement agency in all of human history?
I think so. At risk of offending DEA, I think so.
Mr. Comey, if you'd chosen a different career, say a driving instructor, and you'd never pursued a career at the FBI, don't you think the FBI would be better off?
I didn't pursue a career at the FBI. I was very happily teaching at Columbia when I was asked to become FBI director.
Again, more lies, but you can't prove that to be a lie. Okay, this is completely absurd. Nobody just accidentally becomes the director of any major agency. They want to, but let's continue.
Welcome, Mr. Dagg. You are limited in what you can discuss, but generally, what must be proven in a false statement or obstruction case?
It's good to be here. Thank you very much. So, look, it's not. Sometimes these are hard to prove, but at the end of the day, these cases, what we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt is quite simple. That in this case, Mr. Comey, during a congressional testimony, knowingly lied about something that was important. That's it. That he didn't tell the truth about something that was important, and that it was something that he knew that he was doing, that he was lying. And so, look, the FBI investigated this case very carefully. This is not something that just came up overnight. This is the work of hard-charged prosecutors and investigators that led to the grand jury indictment last week, and now Mr. Comey will get his day in court.
All right, you know your way around a courtroom. I've watched you in a courtroom. The trip between probable cause and beyond a reasonable doubt can be a long one sometimes. So what happens now between indictment and the trial?
Well, we'll produce discovery. There'll be motion practice, and then at some point in the not too distant future, because in Virginia they go to trial quickly, it's a rocket docket district, there will be a criminal trial, and Mr. Comey will be ably represented, and the government will put up their case. But look, what folks don't know, what Mr. Comey's friends that have been on TV all weekend don't know is what evidence the government has. They saw the video that you played, and they think they know, but they don't. The only people that know the evidence right now is the FBI, the Department of Justice, and the grand jurors in that room.
All right, Mr. Dagg, the Comey saga for many of us began in late 2015, early 2016, but there's this little something called a...
And they could also, right before the trial, if, for example, Kash Patel or Tulsi Gabbard or John Ratcliffe declassifies something, use that to convict as well.
Statute of limitations with most federal crimes, so there is a time limit beyond which you cannot go as a prosecutor or the Bureau. Is that right?
That's right. In this case, both crimes that Mr. Comey has been charged with have a 5-year statute of limitations. The testimony was just about 5 years ago, which is why you saw the indictment come down last Thursday. But I don't think anybody in this country should make most or make a lot of the fact that we were running up against the statute of limitations. This happens regularly in cases like this. You investigate, and at some point, you indict. And so, yes, the statute of limitations was running soon, but obviously we indicted last Thursday before the statute of limitations ran.
All right, Mr. Dagg, are there other ongoing investigations? I know you're very limited in what you can talk, and I want to be fair to you, but are there investigations related to similar fact patterns? Some people are promising this, that, and the other. Some people say this is a one and done, and the people who know can't really say, but generally, are there investigations similar to this fact pattern that are ongoing?
President Trump ran on making sure that the Justice Department was restored, that all the faith that had been lost by citizens of this country.
So with all due respect to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, President Trump almost lost his life if he hadn't turned his head, and a firefighter lost his life that day defending his family. Okay? A single person, only a single person, definitely not anyone else, wanted President Trump no longer to be here. Do you think he's playing around with everyone who created a fake, phony, Red Scare, McCarthy-era hysteria that liberals, literally, I was a liberal my whole life. liberal Democrat, progressive, my whole life up until about 8 years ago. Because what took place was they cheated Bernie Sanders. They created a Red Scare McCarthy era myth, hoax. You learned in like middle school growing up that the McCarthy era was a bad time in U.S. history. Democrats, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Hillary Clinton, literally created a Red Scare McCarthy era myth that Russia wanted Trump, but they invaded under Biden, and they took Crimea under President Obama. So the whole thing was complete nonsense, but it was full of criminal behavior. It was a criminal act to accuse Trump of colluding with Russia when the Steele dossier started it. And that's what began the whole thing. It wasn't a meeting with George Papadopoulos. They have to always try to find some kind of absurd excuse to defend the indefensible. The dossier is the reason that Comey, Brennan, Clinton, and others will get indicted under conspiracy statutes.
Country, because of what happened at this department for the past 4 years, would be replaced by people believing that this Justice Department worked for them. And so, yes, you better believe that every single day, Attorney General Bondi, Director Patel, all of our prosecutors around the country, myself, are working hard to restore justice in this country, and that results in investigations. And you're right, we cannot talk about investigations, and we shouldn't talk about investigations. But you better believe that every day that I wake up, every day that Attorney General Bondi goes to the Department of Justice, we're focused on making America safe again and restoring faith and confidence in the Department of Justice.
All right, before I let you go, I know the stabbing on the Charlotte train had a dramatic impact.
Of course, the left and the right and their allies in the media wasted no time melting down over the news and accusing the Trump administration of weaponizing the justice system, seemingly forgetting how they treated President Trump over the last 4 years. Take a look.
Your reaction to hearing that John Bolton's home is now been searched by the FBI?
Well, Kate, the timing of this is chilling.
The fact that the FBI director
Democrats and media have used the word chilling for the past 10 years. Everything is hyperbolic, which is why everyone just tunes out. They don't care anymore. They're like, okay, Trump, do what you got to do.
Goes online and tweets about this or whatever form of posting he did. The fact that the vice president of the United States jumps on that suggests that this is a politically motivated gesture.
It does feel like this is yet another norm broken in a real serious way.
Yet another norm broken? They tried to imprison a former president, and they accused him of colluding with another country to win. I mean, it's unbelievable.
What I'm concerned about even more is that this is somehow political retribution, that the FBI has become the Federal Bureau of Inquisition.
We know that the president is embarked on a pretty extensive effort to go after his perceived enemies, he said he was running on retribution. That's right. I am your retribution. That's what he told his supporters. So there's all kinds of reasons, I think, to look at this with a jaundiced eye.
House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan is here now with more. Thank you so much for joining us, Congressman. I don't know if you were able to hear that. Nicole Parker did a very good job of sort of laying out exactly what the safeguards were going into this raid, but also pointing out the differences between the raid we saw this morning and the raid against Mar-a-Lago. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, but no, I think Nicole's exactly right. I don't know how this went down today, but you're right. The press wasn't there. There wasn't all this, the big scene that it was 3 years ago this month when they raided President Trump's home. I think the big takeaway, though, is think about what we've learned in the last 4 weeks. because of the good work of the Attorney General, of Director Patel, of ODNI Director Tulsi Gabbard. Think about what we've learned. We learned that Jim Comey and his chief of staff were leaking classified information. We learned that a whistleblower has come forward and said Adam Schiff was leaking classified information. We learned from Tulsi Gabbard that there's another whistleblower who said that they changed the intelligence community assessment. They changed the report to say something different back before President Trump even took office, between Election Day 2016 and Inauguration Day. And now we learn that change, by the way, Charlie, was done by Brennan and Clapper at their urging. The report was changed back then. And now we learn today that John Bolton mishandled classified information. So you got Comey, Schiff, Clapper, Brennan, Bolton, all out to undermine the president. That's the story here. You mentioned the deep state a few minutes ago. That's the deep state in action, trying to sabotage the guy we the people put into the Oval Office. That's what they tried to do. And now you got good people running these federal agencies who are looking at the facts and just going on the facts and bringing that forward. This is not political retribution. This is accountability, and it's exactly what the American people voted on when they put President Trump in the White House on November 5th.
Okay, and so I think it's so interesting. You know, those forces operated throughout President Trump's first term. They continued to operate for the entire 4 years of the Biden administration. Have they been neutered now? Have those forces been silenced? Have they been broken?
Well, I do think it was interesting what Greg said as well. The arrogance of these individuals. We actually deposed Mr. Clapper and Mr. Brennan last Congress on a different issue. Remember, they also signed that now famous letter, the 51 former intel officials who think they're so much smarter than us hillbillies in flyover country, signed the letter saying the laptop wasn't real when they knew it was. The FBI had the laptop. So we deposed. But yeah, these guys are all think they're better than us. Now, President Trump has taken their security clearances, which I think is a good first step.
Right.
And we'll see what happens. We know that Attorney General Bondi is looking into the issue Tulsi brought forward, the changing of this intelligence community assessment in 2016 and 2017. I think Mr. Brennan said things to Trey Gowdy in a committee hearing. I think he may have said things to us in our deposition last Congress that don't make sense. So I'm glad she's investigating that. And I'm glad Mr. Bolton, if he in fact kept classified information. You know what this sounds like too? This is what Joe Biden did. Joe Biden kept classified information at his home because he was writing a book. We had that hearing with Special Counsel Hur, and we asked Mr. Hur, and there were 8 million reasons why Joe Biden kept that classified information.
If President Obama brought classified intelligence, he had millions upon millions of pages brought to his library in Chicago by the National Archives. Of course, 30 million pages, nothing classified. That's very bizarre how that could be. That could be reality. But if President Obama brought classified, top secret intelligence at his home, he had the power to declassify. Brennan, Comey, Clapper, Hillary Clinton, John Bolton do not have the power to declassify as a president of the United States of America, or like the president of the United States of America. So it was all nonsense with Trump. They just wanted to get him. Bolton, to his defense, if you work for the government and you're all these classified documents, they're just pieces of paper. Okay? The fact that he had diaries is very bizarre, but they're pieces of paper. You know, they could be retroactively classified. You're giving them all the time if you're, somebody like Bolton. So over the decades, you probably lose, the perspective of how important these specific papers are. Even, let's say, for example, Bolton looked at something that wasn't really important at all, but is marked classified, and then he shared it via email in some way, shape, or form. That's still a crime. He wanted to go after a whole lot of people. Okay, he wanted the capital punishment for Snowden and others. And so you live by bureaucracy, your demise will be by bureaucracy. Bureaucracy could be good. It is oftentimes diabolical. Well, most of the time, bureaucracy is used for good. But when bureaucracy is used for evil, you get the greatest atrocities in human history. Okay, and you also get a 10-year McCarthy-era Red Scare.
That's the advance he got for the book that he was writing. It looks like John Bolton may have been doing the exact same thing. So God bless these great people who are now head of these agencies who are getting to the facts and bringing it forward. And if people need to be indicted, that's going to be up to the Attorney General's office, or the Justice Department, and I have complete confidence in them.
And of course, we also know that the only reason that Joe Biden wasn't charged is because he was A, president, and B, he was too mentally incompetent to.
Mainly answer B, but let's continue.
I think that the interview we had yesterday with Tulsi Gabbard has made a lot of news. And it's really because Tulsi did such a brilliant job, our DNI director did a brilliant job of laying out what exactly she declassified. And Charlie and Griff, I just think we can't overstate what a scandal this is. This might be the biggest political scandal of our lifetime, bigger than Watergate, by the way. And she just declassified the proof that this was actually a coup.
That's right.
By Barack Obama and his buddies.
Yeah, and arguably she's highlighting arguably the biggest political scandal storm of a decade, accusing the Obama administration of manufacturing the Russian election interference narrative against Trump in 2016.
Yeah, Madeline Rivera has this story. Good morning, Maddie.
Good morning. DNI Tulsi Gabbard is accusing former President Obama and his intelligence community of politicizing intelligence to lay the groundwork for what she calls a years-long coup against President Trump. Gabbard says declassified documents show in the days leading up to the November 26 election, intelligence officials consistently stated Russia is probably not trying nor have the capability to influence the election by using cyber means. There too.
Why would Russia be afraid of Hillary Clinton? Why? For the love of God, somebody tell me why. Why would they be afraid of Democrats with private servers and laptops and emails that always cause scandals and foundations and bribery and graft and, classified data swirling around everywhere? Why on earth would any adversary be afraid of modern-day Democrats? We're not talking about JFK. If JFK, God bless his soul, was alive today, I'd vote for him in next election. The JFK is very similar to Donald Trump in many ways, okay? Learned that, you probably shouldn't listen to certain advisors. Okay, it was a start. I mean, unfortunately, we can go on. Look, he made mistakes too. Got us initially into Vietnam, JFK did. Okay, but it was Johnson that ramped up everything. But the thing is, he did not trust, John Kennedy did not trust the CIA. Okay. And he was told to invade Cuba during the Cuban Missile Crisis. He did not. That would have caused World War III. And so he was a man that was not influenced by peer pressure or the pressure of, government, at least in terms of those examples. Like President Trump doesn't play, both of them were, didn't work by the traditional paradigm. Okay. I don't want somebody like Liz Cheney or Kinzinger or Chris Christie or Nikki Haley or George Bush or Hillary Clinton or Harris or Biden. Those are two sides of the same coin. I want somebody like Trump, like JFK, somebody that is not, that does not simply kowtow to intelligence agencies or to government. But Trump, that made Trump a target, just like it did with JFK. If you don't play ball, okay, that's what happens sometimes, potentially.
she says changed after the election, and she specifically brings up a December 9th, 2016 meeting among Obama intelligence officials, including former DNI James Clapper, John Brennan, and former National Security Advisor Susan Rice. After that meeting, Clapper's executive assistant sent an email to intelligence leaders tasking them to create a new assessment per Obama's request about the tools Moscow used to influence the 2016 election.
He directed a manufactured piece of intelligence that detailed not if, but how Russia tried to influence the outcome of the United States election that President Trump won in November of 2016.
Gabbard says she's referring the documents to the Justice Department.
We're referring all of our documents to the Department of Justice for the purpose of accountability and action. No one, no matter who they are, no matter how high up they are or how powerful they may be, no matter who the intelligence officials or professionals were who were a part of this treasonous conspiracy, there must be accountability.
Hey, let me show you something.
Democrats, for their part, are rejecting Gabbard's accusations. They say a report released by the Republican-led Senate Intelligence Committee back in 2020 detailed Russia's effort to interfere in the election to benefit President Trump. Social media was cited as a big tool in that campaign. The report, though, concluded there was no evidence any votes were changed or that voting machines were manipulated. Charlie Rachel Ingriff.
Thanks, Maddie.
You got it.
It really is amazing when you go through what she laid out for us yesterday and you.
And as always, thank God nobody really cares about, and nobody in the world really cares about my thoughts, aside from the wonderful, amazing viewers that, thank God, are watching this channel, and I'm so appreciative. But I'm talking about, my views don't make national news, and I'm just telling you that President Obama is helping President Trump. Almost certainly, the world would think that's an outlandish, absurd theory or speculation. Number one, he circumvents any criminal liability. Number two, he takes full control of the Democratic Party. The I'm with her crowd is indicted. They'll run again. Hillary will run again, indicted, convicted, in prison. She'll still run again. It really doesn't matter. She'll run 2028, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48, 50. It will, every 4 years for the rest of eternity, Hillary Clinton will run for president. 30 different indictments, it don't matter. But Clinton will be indicted because, I think in part because President Obama has helped, is helping, or will help President Trump get all the receipts needed. And anyway, the receipts are being found anyway by Ratcliffe and Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. But I'm saying that he's almost certainly helping Trump.
You compare it, go back with the timeline to real time to what Barack Obama was saying publicly, what James Comey was saying, what all of these people who helped.
By the way, thank you everyone here for the kind words. I read all of them and I thank you all. Thank you.
Perpetuate this hoax were saying to the public, but also testifying under oath to Congress versus what they were saying behind closed doors in these now released memos.
Griff, does the President Obama, we talked about it with Director Gabbard yesterday, that this goes all the way to the top. And she said, well, I'm not in charge. It goes to the DOJ and they decide. But does he have presidential immunity in this? And then everybody else is going to be stuck holding the bag here?
Well, that's a great question. And I'm not a lawyer, but clearly one would think that if Pam Bondi.
Don't ever say I'm not a lawyer, ever. And God bless this. He's awesome. This gentleman, they're all awesome. All three of them are amazing. Okay. Fox and Friends Weekend is fantastic. I watch it, but don't ever in your life say I'm not a lawyer, but because there's lawyers are like doctors, like contractors, just because you're a lawyer doesn't mean that you know everything, or that even that you're good at your profession. You just happen to be of that profession. That doesn't mean that the average person can't think with logic and reason and have a rational, offer rational speculation, or, a lot of times lawyers are wrong. Okay, again, if you're talking about specific legal statutes, they might, the average lawyer might know a lot more than you. But if you're talking about just simply politics, or, an idea, or, a discussion about, how Comey lied under oath, you don't need to be a lawyer. Anyway, never mind me.
Gandhi decides to go after former President Barack Obama, you will see a lot of presidential executive privilege defenses. But it was a great question when you asked Tulsi Gabbard about specifically how high it should go, because we know, and as Maddie was reporting, look, this was Obama's intelligence apparatus, the DNI, the NSA, choosing to omit intelligence that they had, that Russia was not involved, to create a narrative, to manipulate and politicize this information that led to the years-long Russia hoax. And so when she was talking about accountability, she says that, look, this shouldn't even be a partisan issue.
No, it shouldn't.
When you talk about Americans' trust in their government institutions and their highest top leaders. Listen here.
It's not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue with such significant impact that it should concern every American, because it has to do with the fabric and integrity of our democratic republic. There was a Mueller investigation that went on for years, cost taxpayers nearly $40 million. There were 2 congressional impeachments. President Trump and almost every member of his family were smeared and attacked, faced lawsuits, depositions. High-level officials were investigated. Some were arrested and put in jail. The list goes on and on about the ramifications of this, but foundational to it all was the fact that we had in President Obama and his leadership team people who did not want to accept the will of the American people in electing Donald Trump in 2016, and therefore cooked up this treasonous conspiracy to, again, try to effectively, and they did effectively, launch a years-long coup against the sitting president of the United States.
Treasonous conspiracy. The last time I heard the word treason was in history, Benedict Arnold. Can I ask you a question? Will the New York Times and all those people that got Pulitzer Prizes over Russia hoax, will they have to return now? I mean, no, I'm not saying that in a joking way. Now that the documents prove that
the Pulitzer Prize nowadays is like the Oscars or the Emmys. Nobody cares except the group of politically aligned industry, like the industry itself. If you win a Pulitzer, at the Washington Post, or you win an Academy Award now, I mean, does the average person know? In 1998, in 2005, even in 2010, people would know who won a Pulitzer, who won an Academy Award. Does anybody really know now or care? You cannot win a Pulitzer investigative journalism on Hunter's laptop, or because or Biden's mental acuity, or Clinton's servers. You can't win a Pulitzer finding out that a Democrat committed some kind of criminal act. It's impossible. You won't win an Academy Award with a more conservative type of a movie that appeals to conservatives. It won't happen. So these industries not only are suffering financially, they're imploding from the weight of their own bias. That's why you have ticket sales in movie theaters still haven't recovered from the shutdowns, the lockdowns, which were completely insane. And then you have political journalism at an all-time low, because it's run, the majority of it is, I should say, liberal political journalism at an all-time low, because it's the same headline for the past 10 years. Trump!
that this truly is I mean, they could pretend before, but now we have the proof that it was a hoax.
They'll never apologize because they are so committed to it. And we didn't even get into that marvelous interview with Tulsi Gabbard yesterday. We didn't even get into the whole part of it, which is the media involvement in it, because they very purposefully knew exactly how they could manipulate the media, Washington Post, New York Times, to get the stories that they wanted out there. And they did it brilliantly, actually, but you don't even have to do it brilliantly when the New York Times and the Washington Post and the rest of the media that went along with this was so in bed with them and so eager to push this false narrative. Two things. One is a lot of people's lives were destroyed by this, this hoax. And there are a lot of people that you've never heard of whose lives were destroyed by this because of this intelligence junta that went after their political enemies. And those people should be, they should be made whole again. Then the third thing is that does Obama pay a price for this? Well, the new norms are that apparently you do arrest the former president. You do go after the former president. You charge the former president with whatever you want. And apparently, executive privilege goes out the window now. That's the new norm that these people created for us. So I don't want to hear any crying from these people.
Because Donald Trump specifically said that he, and we all saw it. He had a lot of restraint with Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
The last time.
Yes.
When she broke the law, he said,
when they go after Trump with 5 billion indictments, they have created, when Democrats created a legal standard, if you create the atmosphere, the political atmosphere that says that Trump committed crimes, he is a criminal, he must serve time in prison, he's a criminal, and he must serve time in prison. When you create that, you break norms and traditions. You don't treat him like a former president. Well, he's a criminal. Trump committed crimes. And then Trump wins. And then Trump gets reelected after 4 years of a terrible Biden administration. And then he gets reelected. He continues the same legal and political standard, atmosphere, climate. That's what his adversaries created.
let's just put this behind us. After what they put Donald Trump through, I'm not sure the president's going to be quite as forgiving this time, because they made his life hell. And as you said, we have no idea. We don't even know the names of the people, on the tip of our tongue, who lost their homes, because they were investigated and they had to get lawyers.
And they've been arguing forever, respect the norms. The problem with Trump is that he doesn't respect the norms. Okay, we'll respect the norms.
I think you're the first person to call it an intelligence junta.
It is.
That's very highbrow.
We'll see if Barack Obama has such a cool mugshot as Donald Trump.
I'm working on my...
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian.
So, ladies and gentlemen, President Obama is almost certainly helping President Trump. You could tell everybody you know that H.A. Goodman has told you, or the world, that I believe that President Obama is helping President Trump. Number one, he circumvents any criminal liability from setting up and framing Trump, which is a crime, a major crime, the biggest political scandal, the greatest political scandal in American history. It was a crime to purchase and utilize the Steele dossier and filter it through the United States government. That was a criminal act by everyone who filtered it through the U.S. government. So number one, he circumvents any criminal liability. Number two, he takes full control of the Democratic Party from the I'm with her crowd. Clinton gets indicted. She still runs for president, and she'll lose to J.D. Vance, or whatever. AOC will lose to J.D. Vance. It'll be AOC versus Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton versus AOC. AOC does not stand a chance. Could you imagine? Bernie Sanders was completely steamrolled by Clinton. What do you think that she would do to AOC? But anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Go to H.A. Goodman's other channel. God bless you all.